allow an opportunity for questions. We'll take 5 questions, and then the leadership will respond. I'm not answering any questions. The leadership. So let's take the first question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, go ahead. The usual name, organization, and obviously the question. Yes, go ahead.
All right, I'm President from Evasion from came to speak. Because Ogumi sekavekile ngesikhathi ngizwa national organizer ngesikhathi iqhubeka ne-constitution. Then ngizocela ukubuza lo umbuzo ukuthi what's the MKP status on visa regulations, because we had Minister of Home Affairs, his proposition is to attract skilled foreigners to South Africa. Hence, we do have more than overqualified individuals. Or else, why government doesn't train its own people that are relying outside from
Number 2.
Good afternoon, everyone. I had the national organizer speak about the probation of 24 months, correct?
Yes.
The party itself hasn't reached even a year. Does it mean all of you are in probation? Or people who are only joining now? So what is the cut-off? So in the other issue, I think is just escapes me now. Okay, I think I'll get back to it. Just forgot now. There's something to learn.
Please go ahead.
Greetings. My name is Sandra from the Sunday Times. My question is, now that structures have finally been established with internal disciplinary measures and a committee in place, will there be any recourse or special appeal process allowed for aggrieved former members who've been ousted from the party, whether they've been public representatives before? So essentially what I'm trying to find out is former MKP members who are aggrieved about how they were removed from the party, will there be a special process to allow them to appeal their removal or membership? Thank you very much.
Okay. Number 4 at the end.
Moderator, yes. Igama ngokonela lodidi. Because we have mentioned that we support our traditional leaders, and our domination have been struggling with their kingdom for a very long time. And you are aware about the history of South Africa, and Langan Valley, the King of Africa, was one of the first traditional leaders to be arrested in Robben Island. And on the 18th of this month, they have a case in High Court. Is the MK going to support them in their case? The second and last question is, you have mentioned several times that the reason why white people have defeated us was because we're divided as black people. And we've seen MK trying to unite black people in all spheres. And how are we going to maintain that unity? Because there are people who are trying to divide the MK, especially with other progressive forces. Even yesterday, they were pushing raised to the leader of EFF, which he ignored that question because people are trying to create a fight or a division within the two parties, and it's going to go to other black people and black parties also.
That's a long question. Do you remember?
Yes, I remember all of it.
Oh, so it's a live finish of your.
So, the MK was obviously officially announced by President Zuma on 16th of December last year. Is there anything planned to perhaps commemorate that day, like it would normally happen? I mean, you come from a tradition of January 8th. Is there anything called December 16th?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm Howard Ramaphosa from UFM. Let me start with the first question, just to amplify on immigration. What is the MK stance, particularly in the context of the country's electoral politics? Certain people are set to crossroads because they approach these others believe they're gay. And in the previous media briefing, this question was asked, but it was never responded to. So a bit of detail on that one. And also, in the previous media briefing, it was indicated that there's not going to be conferences anytime soon in MK because you will fear infiltration. And now I hear this mention of a policy conference upcoming. Does that also open the regional elective conference or that decision stands? And what is the rationale behind the decision of having two headquarters? I'm not even sure how to put it in plural form, an office in Durban, another in Joburg. Is it to make things convenient for the leader of the party? Since he's from Uganda, I'm not sure how far it is from KZN, I just know it's the same. And are you not concerned? Are you not concerned that this may feed into a narrative of MK being a regional party supported largely by Zulu-speaking people? And finally, bear with me, President Derek. There seems to be a lot of emphasis on discipline in the presentation about the Constitution. So, are you able to give us an account of how right is this thing of people just being opposition, particularly the establishment of rival structures? Thank you.
Thanks. I think that was the last one. Should we allow me in relation to respond? Because it's 5 questions, then I'll take the next one. Maybe President.
Thank you very much for the questions. So the 24-month probation means that everyone else who joins in probation, and everyone, the entire membership, so that the organization is able to, with utmost agility, deal with elements that are joining for wrong purposes. So before the organization can confirm that you are throwing a member, if you misbehave, like you just cancel the membership, so that is going to take into a disciplinary process. And that is the purpose of having every member on there. Because it happens that for an organization that is being founded, you will have a lot of entries elements who join for different purposes, for self-enrichment, or for thinking that they are going to be promoted into leadership responsibilities far much quicker. And then in the process they become very disruptive. So that will be dealt with through the option of that the membership can be cancelled if you misbehave. Because there are certain instances which you do not need to take into a long disciplinary process. Like when people go and disrupt meetings and produce firearms in the meetings of the organization and threaten the security of our movement. It's to those who will be dealt with the problem, and there is no one who is going to impose themselves as a member once the membership is cancelled. So that is the organization will always protect itself in terms of what happens. I think there is a separate process. I'm sure the will possibly reflect on it. There are separate processes on the recognition of traditional leaders and those who claim kingship or are legitimately saying that they're supposed to be recognized as kings. We are not a commission that deals with that as a controversy. And who wouldn't want to enter into that terrain now? But whoever is recognized as a king will recognize them as a king. All traditional leaders who are recognized as traditional leaders will honor them as such. We are not going to recognize kings whom we are not going to create kings. We are not going to have the powers to appoint kings. Presidents who are appointed and recognize a lot of kings and traditional leaders. As head of state and president, 3 weeks ago, we were inaugurating the chief of Hlophe in the northwest, but we do not have the powers to inaugurate kings and chiefs. In terms of immigration, Umkhonto does not agree with undocumented and unlawful immigration. We do not associate with them. We think that in the process of pursuing the pan-Africanism, pan-continental integration of the continent, there has to be documentation of everyone so that we know who is who where. So the pan-Africanist commitment is not shifted. We are of the view that the continental infrastructure, the economy, the people, the cultures must be integrated. But we are not for undocumented movements of people because that might threaten the security of each of the constituent parts which are going to pursue the African integration agenda. So so Pan-Africanism does not entail anarchy. Pan-Africanism does not mean that we must just live as if there is no order. There has to be order, there has to be clear guidance as to how to integrate in terms of the economy, in terms of how to benefit collectively as black people in the African continent from our common economic resources and heritage in terms of what happens. The leadership of Umkhonto will speak at a subsequent stage on the programs and activities that are going to be held to mark the first anniversary of Umkhonto party on the 16th of December. So that program of action will be outlined once all the logistical issues have been sorted. But most definitely there will be activity that is going to take place, and then the leadership will announce where such is going to take place, and all members will be informed. And it will not just be one activity in one province. It will be activities in the entirety of South Africa to commemorate the first birthday of the official opposition in Parliament now, and soon to be government of South Africa.
That was a comprehensive response. Deeply, you had this. head of this issue, yes.
Thank you very much. I'm going to address two questions. One on the two head offices, which each head office will be in Johannesburg, Gauteng, and the other one will be in KwaZulu-Natal. The rationale behind this is that our work as the National High Command is demanding that we are visible and we have meetings, various meetings in the two provinces. And the two provinces are in the center. For example, it is the Gauteng region. It is easily accessible by all provinces. When we are to hold a national meeting, it becomes central. Then the KwaZulu-Natal, it is necessary for us to have one in KwaZulu-Natal as well, because so that we will be able to be visible and be able to attend to all other provinces. Then the second question that I want to address is the one that talks to the factionalism, which was asked as to what is it that makes us have more emphasis on discipline. Discipline is one of the key objectives and principles within our constitution. An emphasis of discipline is as a result of what is happening in all communities, and not only happening within the MKP or the Umkhonto we Party. But it is very important that one mentions that we have learned that as a growing organization, moving from being a movement, we are now an organization. We are being established. We are consolidating ourselves as an organization. It will be very necessary of us and essential that people that are within the Umkhonto Wesizwe uphold the values and norms of Umkhonto Wesizwe. One being that they should be responsible, they should be accountable, they should be respective. Respect being the cornerstone of everything that of the behavior and the conduct of the members of Umkhonto Wesizwe. The factionalism that exists within our communities, within our regions and provinces, that one will be dealt with easily so, because we now have our legal instrument, which is the Constitution. That is the reason. Thank you.
Okay, so the DP
responses on. Please, DP. Member of the JSC.
Right, thank you very much, comrades. I'm going to respond to two questions. The first one is from a journalist. No, it's from Sunday Times journalist. The question was, it's former members of MK and they are entitled to appeal. The Constitution is now in place. It is a living document. Those former members of MK who decided to take the party to court, there are proceedings pending before courts of law. So those members can proceed as they wish. However, in respect of matters that are now arising, right, there are, for example, there are issues of discipline in other provinces, which I prefer not to mention for obvious reasons. We are using the Constitution as it is in place now. So going forward, we are going to invoke the provisions of the Constitution, and in the Constitution there is provision of the right to appeal in respect of those claims. Secondly, there was a question that was raised by Mr. Mbeje. He's looking at me, he's right here. And the question was, it related to celebrations that has already been covered. Or the question that I must deal with relates to traditional leaders. In Mkhonto weSizwe, we take traditional leaders very seriously. It doesn't matter where they come from, whether they come from Wavenda, or they are Sotho speaking, or they are Zulu speaking. We respect all traditional leaders. And as far as we're concerned, with specific reference to the question of land, land could never be the subject of private ownership in Africa, and certainly not in South Africa. So when we advocate the return of the land to its rightful owners, the rightful owners of the land are traditional owners. And so we take them seriously. They are the custodians of our land. And when Mkhonto weSizwe ascends to power, that is the position that we're going to articulate and enforce. Thank you.
Next round, let's see. Let's go, let's start questions. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one there? No, from the Madume. Okay, let's go ahead.
I don't think this is on. It's Heidi Jacobs from ENCA. I just want to ask if the MK party could respond to the fact that the MPA has taken a decision not to prosecute anybody for the multi-million rand robbery at President Cyril Ramaphosa's house. And then just secondly, is the MK party in a position to tell us what the next move is in terms of its position on the JSE? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Zoleka Kodashe from the SABC. I just want to piggyback on the last question from my colleague in relation to, we understand that there is a Part B application that will be heard on the 1st of November. Should you be unsuccessful in that application as well, what would be your next move? Assuming that you would be successful, just for the purposes of this argument, what would be the relief that you would seek? Because the JSC sitting has been protected by the order of the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg. We understand that the leader of the MK party was once a member of the ANC. In fact, he ceased to be a member until he was expelled. Can we get a comment in relation to that? Thank you.
Sanbonani Nkosinathi Shazi from Power FM News. Nombuzo Wodwa. This past week, former ANC member and former Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Willis Mchunu, resigned from the African National Congress, citing that he has lost hope with organization or citing GNU. So with Mkhonto weSizwe party set to establish provincial leadership across all 9 provinces, is Willis Mchunu, former ANC member, part of our discussions, and will he be joining Mkhonto weSizwe? Ngiyabonga.
Good afternoon. My name is Yonela Ngokuvana from Sauma HD Radios. My question is, since Mkhonto weSizwe won majority of votes in KwaZulu-Natal, does that mean the organization have any intentions to work in coalition government with other parties in the province and in national? And secondly, Babu Zuma, since the constitution of the party has been formed, what's your take on being the lifelong member of the ANC? And does that mean you can again campaign for the ANC, given a chance that the current president of the ANC steps down? Lastly, Mkhonto weSizwe party, how is he going to combat the issue of age restriction? Thank you. I mean, age of restriction in terms of employment.
Oh.
Just a follow-up on that question of two dual headquarters. I'm afraid the response was not enough because the question was in the context of your opponents often claiming that this is a regional party. So what this choice of Johannesburg makes perfect sense. But why KwaZulu-Natal? What is it close to? Durban? What is it close to? What is the rationale? And it will come up.
I think that was that. We didn't have a fifth question, eh? Okay. So the first question, the next Phala Phala.
Watch the space for this scene on Thursday. There is a question for Phala Phala on this issue of Phala Phala. I'll raise it. Watch the space. The decision by the NPA not to prosecute the president is shocking to say the least. Now, we all know something called tax evasion. Tax evasion occurs where you do not disclose your income. We all know that the money was hidden under the mattress. So clearly it was not disclosed. One would have thought there's a very simple answer of how to deal with the issue of Phala Phala. If, as we all know, money was not disclosed to the taxman and it was hidden under the mattress, it was not disclosed during the year of tax, during the year when tax was paid. It clearly means it was tax evasion. The president evaded tax. There is no two ways about it. He is guilty of tax evasion. The suggestion by NPA that there are no reasonable prospects of success, that it doesn't make sense to prosecute the president is nonsensical, to say the least. It does show, in my view, that these institutions are being controlled, they are being monitored, and they are being remote controlled by those who support the president. There is a simple English term, those institutions like NPA are captured. I would expect the president to be prosecuted in this regard because clearly money was not disclosed to the tax man. The president is guilty of tax evasion. I know other political parties are dealing with the issue of Phala Phala at a different level. We are going to deal with it at our own level, our own terms, starting from next week on Thursday with question time in Parliament. Secondly, the issue of the Judicial Service Commission. I regard myself as a member of the JSC who was guaranteed. I was told in terms of the court's order that emanated from the Western Cape High Court that I could not attend the proceedings of the JSC. I suppose if I wanted to attend, I could sit and keep quiet. I didn't have time to go there and keep quiet. Secondly, there was an attempt by the legal team to stop the proceedings of the JSC. We lost. Now, we lost two successive cases. We know what happens in South Africa. When you lose, and you lose. It did not surprise us. I was a judge myself for 29 years. It did not surprise us when we lost because we know the judiciary is also captured. It is as simple as that. Now, There is no provision in terms of the law for an alternate member. I was the only member, I'm still the only member of the JSC. There is no provision for an alternate member of the JSC. We have to go back to the drawing board and get somebody else deployed to the JSC. So the decision to resign until finalization of the proceedings by the Constitutional Court was strategic in the sense that right now the party was not represented in the JSC. There is another sitting coming in April next year and another one coming in October next year. So if the party, we want to be represented as the MK on the JSC, the only way to ensure that we are represented until my legal battles are finalized, it is for me to withdraw with dignity, and then another member of the MK party will be deployed to the JSC until my problems are over. At which stage I will decide whether to go back, but I can assure you I will bounce back. It's already you can see my absence from the JSC. The Deputy Judge President of the Land Claims Court is a judge called Susan Cowan. What happened to Hlophe